Let me explain Labor's plans in plain English. The Albanese government has said that to increase productivity, Labor will change the rules so that their personal retirement savings can be used to deliver their campaign commitments. Minister, what assurance can you give Australians that have seen time and time again that when Labor run out of money, they come after yours?
Your hard-earned retirement savings might be closer to danger than you think. What if I told you that even before you retire, a chunk of your super could be taxed, not for what you've sold, but for what it might be worth? If you've got dreams of security and retirement, this might shake you.
Question time, Senator Hume.
Thank you, Madam President. My question is to the Minister representing the Treasurer, Senator Gallagher. Last week, the Treasurer announced we are going to have another look at the super performance test and that this would be done to remove obstacles and impediments to super investing in areas like housing and other areas where there's clearly a national need. Minister, the performance test does not stop superannuation funds from investing in any asset, so long as that investment stacks up financially. It does, however, protect superannuation members, ensuring that superannuation is invested solely in the members' best financial interest and preventing super becoming a vehicle for a political agenda. Minister, when the Treasurer says that he will be taking another look at the performance test, specifically what tweaks does the government have in mind?
Thank you, Senator Hume. Minister Gallagher.
Thank you very much, President. I thank Senator Hume for the question and around an issue that came up during the Treasurer's economic roundtable discussions that were held last week. This was an issue that was raised and has been raised by some, and it came up under the section of the roundtable that was looking at capital investment, capital flows, and how to ensure that we get the investment in Australia that's needed to support, the growing needs of our economy and our country. The Treasurer has said that he will have a look at it, but he has also made it clear that it does his assessment of any changes that may come will not be around the better off the super objective, which is and responsibility that funds always look for the best outcome for members, and he's been very clear about that. So this is one of the areas that has come up. It is going to be an area that will be looked at further, but the Treasurer has not concluded his thinking, or nor the government has concluded our thinking on that. This was one of a number of areas which we are doing further work on, coming out from the economic reform roundtable. But the Treasurer has been very clear of those areas, looking at the performance test, the areas that he is not going to.
Thank you, Minister. Senator Hume, first supplementary.
Thank you, Madam President. Minister, when the coalition government introduced the performance test, Australians were paying more for their superannuation fees than they were in their electricity and water bills combined. Thanks to the coalition's reforms, super fees are now at record lows, and super fund investment returns have exceeded market expectations every year since. Millions of Australians will now retire with more. So what problem, Minister, are you trying to solve? What do you want to allow investments in superannuation why do you want to make investments in superannuation that would make Australians worse off?
Thank you, Senator Hume. The time for asking the question has expired. Minister Gallagher.
Except that is what we are doing, the end of Senator Hume's question. And I think we're all on a unity ticket around ensuring that fees for members are low and that outcomes for members are high. And that is what we seek for anyone who has a superannuation account. And there has been a lot of work, and I'll acknowledge the work, Senator Hume, that you did when you had responsibility for the portfolio in looking at issues around fees. This is not around looking at those matters at all. This is an issue that has come up in the context of allowing superannuation to be invested in Australia and some of the barriers to that occurring. The Treasurer has said he will have a look at it. It has been raised. He will have a look at it. but that will not take away from the fundamental purpose of superannuation.
Thank you, Minister. The time for answering has expired. Senator Hume, second supplementary.
Thank you, Madam President. So this is complicated, but for those that are worried about what this actually means for them, let me explain Labor's plans in plain English. The Albanese government has said that to increase productivity, Labor will change the rules so that their personal retirement savings can be used to deliver their campaign commitments. Minister, what assurance can you give Australians that have seen time and time again that when Labor run out of money, they come after yours?
Thank you, Senator Hume. Order. Order. The minister is on her feet. Order. Order. Minister Gallagher.
Well, it seems that those opposite haven't learnt anything from the last election to carry on like that. Senator Hume, to carry on like that when you know that is exact.
Oh, beg your pardon. Sorry, Senator Hume.
Point of order, Madam President. Why is it always that the mean girls go personal?
Senator Hume, I'm going to ask you to withdraw that.
I withdraw.
Minister, please continue.
Thank you. And sorry, I'm kind of struck by that, Senator Hume. I expected better. I always expect better from you, but there you go.
Minister Gallagher, please resume your seat. Senator Hume, I'll just remind the chamber, and you in particular, how you raise a point of order. You stand, you wait for my call, and you respectfully put the point of order. What is your point of order?
Relevance, Madam President. I just want to know why it is that Labor come after Australians' money when they run out of their own.
Senator Hume, you are well aware the minister is entitled to take interjections as part of the question. So I suggest if you want relevance to your question that you believe is not there, stop interjecting. Minister, please continue.
Well, just to finish on this, Labor is the party of superannuation. Yeah. We created it, we strengthened it, we've supported it to 12%. The reason people have superannuation in this country is because of the Australian Labor Party, and those opposite have sought to undermine it every single time they have the opportunity. You never supported it, you never wanted working people to have superannuation, and when you've had the opportunity, you've sought to undermine it. Well, that is not what the Albanese Labor government will ever do with your super.
Thank you, Minister.
Labor is pushing ahead with a proposal that would hit superannuation balances over $3 million, with double the tax rate on earnings above that threshold. Instead of the usual 15%, anything over $3 million could be taxed at 30%. Not just on profits you've realised, but also on paper gains. Value rises in assets you haven't sold. That unrealised gains part is the twist most people haven't caught yet, because most tax systems tax when you sell something. Here, even if you're sitting on growth in your super, but haven't converted it to cash, you could still pay. It's one thing to tax money you've pocketed, it's another to tax what's still floating, and that's not all. The changes are part of a broader idea to make super more equitable, says Labor. Imagine this. You've got a super fund that includes property or private assets. They go up in value. But on paper, you haven't sold them, there's no cash in hand. Under the proposal, you might still be taxed on those increases. That's taxing growth without liquidity, which can hurt badly if you don't have spare cash. For people with self-managed super funds, especially those who own property, farms, or other non-liquid assets, this could force hard choices. Sell assets to raise cash, or face tax bills on gains that might vanish. That risk isn't hypothetical. Critics are warning about this now. The $3 million threshold is supposed to limit this to the wealthy. Right now, only about 0.5% of super members are above that line, roughly 80,000 people. But here's where the alarm bells ring. The threshold isn't indexed for inflation. That means that over time, more people are going to creep into that above $3 million zone, even if their wealth hasn't skyrocketed, just because the value of money changes. What feels out of reach today might feel much closer in 10 or 20 years. Also, even if you're well below $3 million now, aggressive inflation or rising asset values could push some people toward it. And once there, the tax structure could start biting. This is part of why opponents say it's a stealth path toward broader taxation of super. Almost everyone with skin in the game is sounding the alarm. SMSF owners with property feel squeezed. Farmers worry their farmland held in super might get hit. Economists, business leaders, super fund bodies warn that this could create forced sales or liquidity crunches. Some say it violates principles of fair taxation. Why tax profits not received? Others fear unintended consequences. Funds might move to more liquid but lower return assets just to avoid tax issues, hurting returns for everyone. Also, political critics call it a stealth move, a raid on retirement, a way to pull back tax concessions that were promised or seen as part of retirement saving. Labour insists this is about fairness and sustainability. They say super gets huge tax concessions, especially for people with big balances, and that the system has to be made more equitable. The taxation of unrealised gains is controversial, but in their view, necessary. They also argue that the change only affects those with very high balances. Most Australians will see nothing. In fact, Labour claims that less than 1% of people will be impacted. Another piece of their defence: super funds have done very well. Some super performance tests are being reviewed. Adjustments may give more flexibility, but the argument is better off super savers should pay a somewhat higher share. This doesn't exist in a vacuum. Super performance tests, which measure how well funds have performed over time, are being revised. Industry bodies are pushing for modernisation so that funds can invest in things like clean energy, housing, emerging local ventures, etc. That's good in theory, but critics suggest that if super funds are hit with higher tax risk or forced liquidity demands, they might shy away from long-term investments, possibly reducing returns. So there's this tension, wanting super funds to be adventurous, invest long-term, but also potentially saddled with tax bills for growth that hasn't been realised. Those two pull in opposite directions, and your super's future depends on how that tension is resolved. You might not currently have $3 million in your super, but you do care about fairness, integrity, what promises the government keeps. You want to know that your effort, your savings, your future are respected, not quietly eroded. If thresholds creep up, if paper profits become taxable, the rules shift. What seems like someone else's fight today may become yours tomorrow. Also, high taxes on unrealised gains risk pushing returns down across all funds, reducing incentive to invest in high-growth assets. That could slowly eat away at what your super might deliver long-term. So here's where we stand. Labour's proposal to tax earnings above $3 million, including unrealised gains, could reshape super in ways that hit the wealthy hardest, but not exclusively. The lack of indexation could pull more people in. The risk of being taxed on growth you haven't actually converted to cash is real. Supporters call it fair. Opponents call it dangerous, slippery. A backdoor raid. What do you think? Is this fair policy adjustment, or is it a betrayal of the promise of retirement security? Drop a comment. Do you believe your super is safe, or do you feel like your future might already be at risk? Also, like this video if you want more deep dives into policy that impacts your wallet. If you've watched this far, type super safe in the comments so I know you're serious about protecting what's yours.